Listen, I know why you're here. You watched the first video where I conquered normal mode. Then you watched the second video where I slammed Nightmare. Now, it's time to obliterate hell. Reminder, I'm playing a vitality only necromancer from level 1 until I kill Hell Baal, or I die. My name is Z, and welcome to the Dark Chronicles of Diablo. I went back to Nightmare Act 5 to farm the Worldstone Keep for some levels and maybe a few upgrades before I tackle Hell. Along the way, I finally find a 4-socket weapon for my mercenary, which is a Becta Corbin. This, of course, meant it's insight time. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, Z, you finished Nightmare without insight? And you'd be absolutely correct, my dude. I probably should have burned a socket quest earlier, but in true hoarder fashion, I wanted to save them for a rainy day. So, here we are. My insight rolled 212% enhanced damage, which is low, level 14 meditation aura, also low, and plus 6 to critical strike, which is the highest roll it can do. Basically, it's a grade C- project that still passes. Feeling bold, I decided to grow a pair and head into Hell early. Spoiler alert, terrible idea. First thing I ran into were some fanaticism zombies with lightning enchanted, and a few other delightful affixes. Let's just say I rode the struggle bus all the way, which definitely sucked. After that humbling experience, I accepted defeat and went back to Nightmare to get more levels. Luckily, the Terror Zone was the catacomb, so I figured I'd get some value out of this. Except the first door I opened, about 500 lightning dogs lined up to zap my ass. Good times, good times. Andy went down shortly after, and the reward for all that effort was crap, and even more crap. The best thing she gave me was a rare circlet with +1 to druid skills, 39 life, and dual resist, which is basically the game's way of saying, congrats dude, you're playing the wrong class. The next thing I did was clear the sockets out of my ancient pledged large shield. I'd finally collected enough perfect diamonds to justify the swap. So I threw 3 perfect diamonds in it for a juicy +57 to all resistances. Honestly, this will carry me farther than Ancient's Pledge ever could. Basically like trading in a used Honda Civic for a reliable Toyota. Back in Hell, I make my way to Bloodraven and figured I'd hit the Mausoleum since it's the level 85 zone and relatively safe. I cleared both the Mausoleum and the Crypt, got a few items, none of which were remotely exciting. Classic. So I grind my way over to the Forgotten Tower to farm the Countess for some runes. I hit level 68 in the process, and on the very first kill, she actually delivered. I got an Am rune and a Shale rune. Of course, she followed up by showering me with disappointment on the next run, and I almost got shredded by some archers and goatmen for my trouble. To save you the boredom, I'll just fast forward a few Countess runs side by side to show the rune drops. Along the way, I picked up some Hyperion Javelins with 176% enhanced damage and replenished quantity. Not useful for me, but kinda cool nonetheless. I found a unique ring, which turned out to be Carrion Wind. Again, not great for a necromancer, but still a neat find. Oh, and Fire Lizard's Talons also drop, because apparently I'm collecting the, quote, not for a necromancer, end quote, starter set. Finally, the Countess redeems herself with a 25 life large charm and a Lem rune. That's huge, because now I can make Treachery for Jamali. This is a massive upgrade. 45% increased attack speed to keep him swinging and leeching, plus level 15 Fade when struck, which hands him 60 to all resistances and 15% physical damage reduction. Basically, he just got promoted from guy I keep resurrecting to guy who might actually survive. Helendariel, complete pushover. Kept Decrepify on her and spammed Bone Spears like my character's life depended on it. Which, fun fact, it does. This Necro really does a lot of boning. In Act 2 Hell, I decided to swap my Prayer Mercenary for a Holy Freeze Mercenary. Meet Asab. Cold, slow, seems safer for the rest of hell. And honestly, he's my go-to for about 80% of my hardcore playthroughs. Reliable and chilly. Speaking of chilly, I'm kind of hungry. The Maggot Lair is basically a playground for a Bone Spear Necromancer. Coldworm the Burrower gets squashed like the bug he is, and I snag the Staff of Kings. Then it's snakes, lots of snakes. The Claw Viper Temple is crawling with them, some with fanaticism, which is terrifying. But they all bite the dust eventually, and I grab the amulet. In the Arcane Sanctuary, I find a unique Gothic sword, which is Cloudcrack. It's a cool sword, terrible for both me and Asab, so it goes into the look but don't touch pile. The Summoner was easy enough, but the real highlight was the rare ring he dropped. 14 energy, 9 life, 30% fire resist, 5% cold resist. This will replace one of my rings, and now my resistances are looking much healthier. Moving on to the tombs, I get surrounded by Gorebellies. These guys hit hard. They have crushing blow, and thanks to being cursed, they were doing double damage. I somehow fought my way out, barely keeping my sanity intact, and made it to Duriel, the Lord of Pain. Duriel? Cakewalk. Asab didn't even die once. He didn't drop anything noteworthy, but hey, progression is progression. Onward to Act 2. I head back to normal mode, and I score a 3-socket ring mail from Charcy, which meant it was finally time to make Lionheart with my Foul rune. For anyone who doesn't know, Lionheart is basically the Swiss Army knife for rune words for solo self-found. It gives 20% enhanced damage, which is good for melee or boazons. It gives 25 to strength, 15 to dexterity, 20 vitality, 10 energy, 50 life, and 30% all resistances. It's a little bit of everything, which is exactly what I needed. Plus, that 25 to strength finally lets me rock my Trangul's gloves, which are best in slot for my character. Here's the character update headed into Act 3 Hell. 1,168 life, 250 mana, resistances are basically maxed, my Bone Spear damage is 1750. Basically, I'm now officially the kind of necromancer enemies hate seeing coming, and Asab is still just along for the ride. So Act 3 starts off horribly. Sazark the Burning and his homies show up with Might Aura, Blessed Aim Aura, and Cursed. I'm literally fighting for my life. This shit is extra spicy. I haul ass back to town, grab Asab, and finally clear the spiders to snag Kalim's eye. Phew. The Gidvin quest gives me a shitty ring loaded with mana. Sold that nonsense back to Ormus. The brain? No big deal. Not worth boring you with the details. Then comes my dude Stormtree. This hoss motherfucker rolls up with his gang. All fanaticism, pounding our butt cheeks into last Tuesday. Winning this fight was insanely tough. The sewers don't help either. They're full of spicy dolls ready to ruin my day. Honestly, Act 3 so far has been total shithole. Anyway, I finally grabbed the heart. I faced the Hell Council. Thankfully, they weren't too bad. Curses plus some bone prison to keep them under control, and for once, my ass survives intact. Speaking of my ass, I had to fight Mephisto and immediately run into a might pack of Gorebellies and dolls that forces me to save and exit. Not the warm-up I was hoping for. For the actual Mephisto fight, I decided to cheese it with the moat trick. I slapped a Crepify on him, I run to the other side of the moat, and I spam Bone Spears from a safe distance. The drops? Kinda crappy, but hey, dude, I'm still alive, and that's the real win. Act 4 kicks off with Fanaticism and Fire Enchanted Venom Lords. Seriously, this game wants me dead. I make it to the Plains of Despair, get greeted by a horde of burning souls with Might Aura, forcing me to save and exit. Eventually, I get to Iswal, who is surrounded by a literal bodyguard. I have to chisel my way through using Corpse Explosion when I can to thin the herd. Lots of kiting, running, and general chaos. Hey, if you're still watching at this point, congratulations. You're officially invested. Hit that subscribe button and help me reach the goal of 1,000 subscribers. I think I'm at like 810 or some shit. Thanks, my dude. Anyway, I finally bring Iswell down and grab my 2 free skill points. Progress. I slammed Hephaestus the armor and decided to check out my Hellforge. Drum roll, please. Another follow room. Well, that's interesting. Thanks, RNG. About 30 seconds past the River of Flame waypoint, a unique ring drops. Naturally, I'm hoping for an SOJ or a BK ring, but nope, it's Ravenfrost. Don't get me wrong, I actually do like these rings, but it's not exactly necro ready. I wade into the Chaos Sanctuary, pop some seals, and of course, Fanaticism Stormcasters. At this point, I'm convinced this should be renamed the Fanaticism Run, because I've encountered more of that shit than any sane person should. When Diablo finally spawns, I stick to the same nightmare strategy, just cheesing it in hell. Play Golem plus Decrepify spam keeps him under control until he finally bites the dust. The loot, not great. The set war sword he drops is Death's Touch. Eventually, I reach the Ancients. Korlik gets pummeled into the ground without too much trouble. Modok is squishy and goes down just as fast. Talik, a bit trickier thanks to the whirlwinds, but eventually he meets the same fate. Asab and I survive in one piece, and now the path to Baal is clear. I start making my way to Baal and immediately run into some Death Lords with Might Aura. Let's just say I didn't have the patience or health pool to handle that situation. So, save and exit. Classic Diablo. Pressing on, I get ambushed by serpents and dolls with Might Aura. Again, my sweet necro ass narrowly survives, and I have no choice but to save and exit. Dude, this game really hates me. Finally, the big moment. Hellbear. Honestly, he wasn't as terrifying as the Death Lords or the serpents I'd faced on the way to him. I stick to the winning formula of Decrepify and Bone Spear spam while kiting the occasional big attacks. Baal goes down after what feels like 1,000 Bone Spears later. The loot? Predictably underwhelming for my build. He drops a set Demon Hide boots, which are rite of passage. He also drops this really cool rare Thresher. With that, my Vitality only Necromancer has survived hell and completed the challenge. Asab survived, I survived, and my butt cheeks, mostly survived. Alright, my dudes. Here's the final Hell Mode update for my Vitality only Necromancer. Alright, the stats. I finished at level 78. I had 59 strength, 40 dexterity, 440 vitality, and 59 energy. My life was 1,258 with 260 mana. My resistances are 75 fire, 72 lightning, 75 cold, and 73 poison. Dang, that's pretty solid. My faster cast rate was 50%, magic fine 16%. My bone spear damage was about 1940. As usual, you can take a look at my gear upon completing this challenge. You can slow the video down or hit pause on each piece to see the stats. Honestly, this run was a blast, dude. Vitality only might not be the hardest challenge I've done, but between the RNG, the butt cheek saving moments, and my constant bone spear spam, it felt chaotic, fun, and just the right amount of ridiculous. If you stuck around all the way through this chaos, thanks, my dude. You're officially in the tribe. Hit that subscribe button if you want more hardcore insanity, ridiculous loot drops, and general entertainment. Massive Boner has survived. For now. If you made it this far to the end of the video, smash a comment below and include the code word BALLS in your comment somewhere so I know that you're an OG and watched the whole damn thing. That's all I got for today. Alright, my dudes. Z is out. Peace.